Welcome to the recap of Miss Grand International 2024's closed door interviews. My name is Dani. Thanks for clicking on the episode. I really appreciate all of your support so much. So let's talk about this. This was so interesting for me. I didn't even know that they posted these. Was this always a thing? I could just be late to the game for this. I'm not sure, but it was so insightful. Also, let's talk about first just the format of it. So the contestants walk in groups of 3, and they're not perfectly in alphabetical order, which I actually kind of like. Just like break things up a little bit and don't go in the usual order. Each of the ladies got to present an introduction when they walked in the door. So this is actually something that I prepare all of my contestants for. When these ladies walked in, they asked them, "Tell me about yourself." Very simple, but it can be very difficult if you're not prepared to talk about the most important points for you. What's so important to remember when a judge asks you to tell me about yourself is to think about your audience, think about the organization. So I thought that the smartest introductions were the ones that were appealing to what they are looking for in a title holder. So if you're familiar with brand, you're gonna hear beauty, brains, body, and business again and again and again. And this is what they are looking for in a title holder. So personally, if I were a contestant, I would be sharing about myself and relating myself back to the 4Bs, or at least one of them. Quickly, I'll say there were a lot of really great interviews. I'm just gonna talk about the ones that were memorable for me. Czech Republic, I think, was really smart. She shared about being an influencer. And if you listen to what Nawat says online, if you listen to what Nawat is sharing with the contestants in the interview, he is not shy about saying he's looking for a celebrity within your own country. So Czech Republic from the get-go is like, that's exactly who I am, and this is what I do for a living, and I will be an asset to your organization. So that was very smart. Dominican Republic shared that she works in real estate, finance, but she's also a performer, and that's what she loves to do, and that's something that she will uniquely bring. She's like, you know what, you guys are looking for an entertainer. And I would say that that's true. Miss Grand International, you'll often see that their queens are out there singing or dancing, and they're doing that at the show, in the opening numbers, throughout their reign. I think it's very, very smart that she was like, I have a talent, so I really want to combine my talent with your business to give you what you are looking for and what you're needing in a title holder. So smart. Another thing I want to mention that I liked is that the interviews didn't appear to be timed. I like that everybody got an introduction, everybody got at least one question, sometimes a few more depending on what you shared in the interview, and then they wrap everything up with the same question, which is, if you weren't crowned, who do you want to win this pageant? That is a pretty popular question, and I will say my year at Miss USA, I heard that a lot of contestants were asked that question, and if the contestant was trying to skirt around the answer, the judges made her say a name before moving on. So ladies, this is a question that you should be prepared to answer. It's not a bad idea to say something nice about your fellow contestants. Being kind to somebody else isn't gonna hurt you in your interview. France was so fun. Honestly, she had so much personality. She made me laugh throughout the interview. She talked about working in international trade, and they even asked her to sell a product. She had her purse with her. So she actively sold her purse in French because she was demonstrating the other languages she speaks. And then she's there selling it, and she's mentioning that the purse is very mindful. It's very demure. And I thought that was so funny because obviously very current, very trendy. So she did such a great job. She brought such lightness into the interview room, and just her personality made her stand out. The other thing she talked about is mentioning, I can change my look. I can look like these ladies here. I can throw on a wig. I can wear my hair as it is. Like, I can do all of these things. I'm very versatile. And I thought that that was so fun. It was such a cool thing she added. Italy got asked a really great question because she talked about how she's participating in this pageant to improve herself. And so they asked her, you said that you want to improve. What do you feel like you've improved? Evaluate yourself right now in this competition. And I loved that question. Myanmar looked beautiful in interview. I actually talked about this look in my other episode about interview looks. She is only 18. I didn't even know how young she is. She is really holding her own. I can see why she's been a fan favorite. I think she did an excellent job. They asked her what her favorite B is out of the 4Bs, and she talked about business, essentially because the other things are really subjective, but that you really need that business mindset specifically for Miss Grand International, and that's true. That that is what it sounds like they're looking for, meaning Nawat. When I say that, he's really looking for a title holder who is going to work and who is going to be profitable for the brand. The other thing I noticed is that none of the contestants got asked about service work or causes or advocacy, none of it. That's really interesting to me because it sounds like it's very obvious that they don't really care about the work that you're doing. Not that it doesn't matter, and I don't think that it would hurt to share the things that you're doing in your community, but it's not really something that you need, it seems like, in this organization. Now, the thing I would say that some of the ladies referenced that I thought was really smart is they talked about ending the war, ending violence, and that is something that the top 10 presents a speech on later during finals. So we did hear some references to war and ending violence, and so that was quite on brand and that made sense. Peru was another one of the countries that had so much personality in her interview, and I feel like that is what ended up making her really stand out. She looked so beautiful in her interview look. I loved that. She referenced something about where she's from and the cities that she's from, and she says it's known as the Flavor City. And she was so cute. Frankly, I just really loved her personality, and I feel like having a really good personality is an important quality in a title holder. If you're going to work with her all year, you want somebody who's going to be friendly, who's going to be great with sponsors, great with press, great meeting people, and just representing your brand in a positive way. Now, as I mentioned, they asked everybody, who would you like to win if you don't win? And I want to talk about the queens that we heard mentioned again and again by multiple contestants, which I thought was really interesting. So first is Philippines. She got mentioned by multiple title holders, and they had a lot of positive things to say about her sweetness, and her personality. I thought that was great. France was also mentioned several times, and they said what I said about her in the swimsuit competition is that she just seems very grand in her styling and in her presentation, and she just kind of fits the bill. So I really liked her. Now, some people said Curacao, and I love that because I had talked about this. She's also competed in, I learned, other international pageants, but more specifically Miss Universe, and I loved her there, so I was really happy. And you can see that other contestants are recognizing the queens that have really put in the work, and that seems to be what they're referencing when they're saying this is why somebody should win. There's also Thailand. Contestants mentioned Spain specifically because there hasn't been a winner from Europe yet. So I thought that was really cool. That was really interesting. She could be the first. Philippines was beautiful. I loved her entire look. She's very, very well spoken, and I feel like it was a little tough for her being from the Philippines because she was almost getting asked these questions that would put somebody in a position where they could potentially sound defensive, and she just did such a great job with them. She talked about being a breadwinner and wanting to share her story to encourage other people who are experiencing the same thing. Then Nawat asked her about the conflicts with Filipino fans, or a lot of Filipinos saying that Miss Grand International is a cooking show, and kind of what does she have to say about that? Essentially, she says that the Philippines is hungry for a crown, and that she would really encourage them to watch the competition to change their own minds about the competition. She shared a lot about how much she liked the staff and the production and what they offer to the contestants. Thailand was very, very beautiful, and the thing that made me laugh about her interview is they asked her, what's the first word that comes to mind when you think of Nawat? And she said money. She really made me laugh when she said that, because I kind of think of that too. It really seems like the core of Miss Grand International is business, obviously one of the 4 B's, and making a profit and finding contestants who really, really grasp that, really understand that. And title holders who can figure out on their own, like, what are they bringing? Like, how are you increasing the bottom line? Like, he wants to know that they have an awareness of that. And yeah, so money and Nawat, that makes a lot of sense. USA, oh my gosh, I just love her voice first and foremost. She is so wonderful to listen to, and no wonder she was Miss Georgia USA, one of the most, I would say, competitive states to win in Miss USA, and she just did such an excellent job. Her interview was very unique. It sounded like she was was almost pitching herself in a boardroom meeting. She shared a lot about her knowledge working with luxury brands. She was referencing statistics of different markets and ways to make a profit. And I was just so impressed by her interview because she really seems to get the business side of Miss Grand International. She's also so beautiful, so stunning. I really liked her reference to how do we make it more profitable, specifically within the US. And she says, I have a very motivated national team behind me, a national director who wants to grow Miss International, to make it this household name, to familiarize pageant audiences, specifically in the US, with Miss Grand International. She's like, I have such a great support team and we are motivated to grow Miss Grand International. And I thought that that was brilliant. Now we have Miss US Virgin Islands, and she was in the room with USA and also with UK, and I have to say I was so impressed by all three of them. That was a really tough group to be a part of. And Sam she really brought her best, and you can see how much years of experience is really paying off. I mentioned in the other episode she was Miss Wisconsin USA. She also competed at Miss USA, and this interview was so impressive to me. So she talked about how she's young, she's 23, and her dream is to be a plastic surgeon, specifically because of her mom's recent breast cancer diagnosis, which is just so heartbreaking to hear, and I hate that. And then she also referenced stopping wars first through self-love, and I agree with what she's saying, that a lot of times people have hatred for one another because they don't even have self-love, and there's something wrong inside and we have to start with self. And then she also shared about her cosmetic brand, and she even gifted some lip oil that she was premiering at Miss Grand International to the judges. And that's something else that I was really surprised to see. So at pageants like Miss USA or Miss Universe, nobody's really said it explicitly, but I've never heard of anybody bringing the judges anything or any types of presents, and that seemed pretty common at Miss Grand International. A lot of them were bringing them things from their own businesses and brands, which was really cool actually for the judges to actually see and check out and try. UK was really interesting. She was also very beautiful. I loved her styling, and she talked about how she is Thai and British, which makes her unique, so she's kind of working on that Thai a little bit. Also that she has dual citizenship as well, and she's like, that would make it very easy for me to work in Thailand. She's like, I have a Thai bank account, simple to pay me. And I loved that. Like, that was such a fun little thing that she was adding in there, but she did an excellent job with her interview as well. Venezuela is a singer. Nawat really liked her styling. He loved her hair here. And she's beautiful. And something I really liked about her is that she just didn't feel like she was being inauthentic. When you heard her speak, it wasn't like she was putting on her pageant voice. It sounded like she was being so real with everybody. And I thought that that was awesome. I thought that was great. And it's just a likable quality about her. Belgium speaks 5 languages. She has her own coffee shop business. She was just impressive. So impressive. How great would it be to have a title holder who speaks 5 languages? Very useful for sending her all over the world. Bangladesh. So I really liked that she talked about how she is the first representative from Bangladesh. She's so beautiful, so well spoken, and she also talked about how she's her country's most followed title holder, which I think is really great, and it can appeal to what Nawat is looking for in terms of finding a celebrity title holder. Curacao talked about being a teacher and a TV presenter. I thought that was really smart, just showcasing some of the skills that she has. And they asked her if she felt pressure being back in an international competition, and she's like, no, I don't really feel much pressure. I'm just really focused on being present in the moment, and I feel like that's such a mark of a great title holder. India, she is so beautiful, and she, I would say, had another challenging interview. She got quite a few questions and they really pressed her, and she did such a great job not getting defensive with any of her answers, because there was potential to do that with the way that they were worded. Nawat asked her kind of a tricky question in reference to growing Miss Grand International and the popularity that India can bring to the pageant, and he's like, well, for the swimsuit competition the judges selected you in the top 10, but you didn't make the top 10 in the fan vote. And I was like, wow, look at him challenging her on this. This is so interesting. She said, yes, we do have a lot of fans, but not all of them are as familiar with Miss Grand International, so there is potential for growth there. So I like how she turned that around. Guatemala, she is an actress and a model. She's very beautiful, and she had such a calming presence about her in the interview, and I feel like they liked her. They asked her a couple questions and I was like, I feel like she's winning the judges over. Panama is a speaker and a model, and she shared this story about how she is independent because she grew up from the age of 4 without both of her parents. And I feel like that's something that could be important to mention, because you need to be an independent title holder. You can't have your hand held, and I think that you also need to be somebody who is very self-motivated to grow the brand in order to be successful and work for Nawat. Brazil, very, very beautiful. Interesting story. She has worked as an international model, traveled to over 50 countries, and now she works as a booker. So I like with her that she's experienced both sides of the modeling industry, so she has a really great understanding and awareness of what brands are looking for, and also probably has a ton of brand relationships. I feel like Cuba just did a great job overall, just marketing herself and sharing why she would be a great title holder. She looked amazing in this interview, and this would have been an easy pass for me moving on to the next round or giving her a great score. Indonesia got asked a lot of questions in interview as well. I did notice that. I thought that she looked really, really great, and she seemed to answer all of them with a lot of ease. She just really held herself like a queen, and she was so confident in this interview. I really loved her. Malaysia looked so beautiful. I especially love this look. It's one of my favorites. She talked about being a TV host and a model, and also having a business and running a nonprofit. She talked about how she's ready to be working and busy, and how she can run in 4-inch heels if you need her to. And I also really like that she said she's here for the future, and she's here and she's available to host future editions of Miss Grand International, and I loved that. Paraguay is a doctor, and she helps people with HIV and AIDS. And can you imagine walking into the doctor's office and she's your doctor? Like, how stunning, right? I'm like, oh my gosh. So beauty and brains, love that. And she also, they asked her if she feels pressure to win because there's been a past Miss Grand Paraguay that won, and she was like, no, actually I just feel inspired by our past winner, and inspired to, you know, hopefully carry on that legacy. Puerto Rico works in communication and journalism, so obviously that is a useful skill if you're going to be a title holder and represent a big international title. She also works on shows, and she frankly just looked so beautiful, sounded so confident. I loved her. Colombia is a model and a business owner, and she talked about having only 2 weeks of prep, but that she has a lot of support from her country. Obviously, big pageant country, Colombia, right? That makes a lot of sense. But the thing I like that she said in there was, she's like, it doesn't matter if I had 2 weeks to prepare, it's because I'm always ready. Yes! Yes, confidence. I love that. Laos was really beautiful. Loved her look. She talked about being a trainer. Also, she primarily spoke, I believe, in Thai in her interview. It seemed like they like her, but obviously I don't speak Thai, so I don't really know exactly what she said, but she sounded like she did a great job. Nicaragua talked about being an actor and a TV host, and that her country, Nicaragua, loves pageantry and would support her. And I feel like that is something that really seemed to come across in a lot of the interviews, is they're trying to say, like, I am the celebrity of my country, because clearly that is what Nawat is looking for, and he's not shy about it. I know that there's a lot of people out there that love Miss Grand International, and then a lot of people that don't love Miss Grand International, but here's what I have to say. Every pageant is different. Nobody's forcing all these ladies to go and compete. They want to represent this brand. They want this experience. And the other thing about it is Nawat himself can be quite a polarizing, I would say, public figure. I would say most people don't agree with everything that he says, but the one thing that I do appreciate is he's literally telling contestants exactly what he is looking for. I want a big following, I want you to be a celebrity in your country, and I want to know, how are you going to make money for this brand? Fair enough. I personally appreciate the clarity. It's not confusing. Contestants aren't going to go in there and be like, well, I really wasn't prepared for the interview at all. No, focus on those 3 things and you can excel in the organization, and you can be really, I would say, attractive to him / his judges, so to speak. I really don't understand about this judging process. I personally don't like that the owner of an organization sits in on the interview and is like interviewing contestants or scores them. I understand that sometimes for quality control, an owner or a director might want to sit in and just make sure that the contestants are doing well, that the judges are asking appropriate questions. You know, quality control, I totally get that. I'm not a fan of a director playing a large role in selecting their winner. Here's the thing though, when you create your own pageant organization, you can make up the rules. And so even if those rules aren't the norm, you're free to do that. And of course, contestants don't have to compete in this pageant if they're not ready and prepared for this. There was something in one of the contestant interviews where he was sort of asking like how almost like gain more respect in your country from pageant audiences. When he asked that, I just thought scoring transparency. Simple as that. You can gain the trust of pageant audiences if you're just transparent with your scoring process. If you bring in judges and you don't have your queen sitting on the panel and you're sitting on the panel and staff members that are interacting with contestants sitting on the panel. If you avoid all of that, I feel like he would really start to gain some traction and gain a lot more respect overall for the pageant's brand in a lot of other countries. Because the fact is that it is different from other pageants and it does appeal to different types of contestants. And I do like that there is a different style of walk on stage, and like a lot of it is just different. Like he found his own niche in pageantry, and that's not easy to do, and there's an audience for it. That's it for this episode. Let me know what you want to see on the next one, and remember, please be kind in the comments. Contestants read your comments and your words matter, so let's be kind to one another. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.